Even at Harvard University, people go crazy when a real old movie star shows up. Duke John Wayne.
March 1961. In a tiny one-room schoolhouse in rural Montana, a teacher gives her 12 students a simple classroom assignment. Write one sentence to John Wayne. That is all. Just one sentence each. It is meant to be a small exercise, a way to practice writing and maybe spark a little excitement in children who spend most of their days surrounded by open land, hard weather, and long distances between places. Their teacher, Margaret, does not expect anything to come of it, certainly not a reply, and definitely not what happens 2 weeks later, when a delivery truck rolls up outside the schoolhouse carrying something that will forever change the way those children see America. The story begins on a Tuesday in Hollywood. John Wayne's office receives hundreds of letters every week.
He was perhaps he was my dearest friend and my best friend, not as man and woman, but as two human beings.
Fan mail, script offers, business proposals, requests for autographs. Most of it is sorted by assistants, answered with form responses or tucked away with signed photos and polite notes. That is the usual routine. But one envelope stands out immediately. It is plain and hand-addressed, stamped from Montana. Nothing flashy, nothing important looking. Just a simple envelope from somewhere far away. Inside are 3 pages of lined notebook paper, written in a teacher's careful hand, neat, steady, thoughtful. Wayne opens it and starts to read. The letter begins, "Dear Mr. Wayne, my name is Margaret. I teach at a small school in Montana. I have 12 students, ages 6 to 14. Most of them are children of ranchers. We study your films to learn about American history and values." Wayne stops on that line and reads it again. They study his films for history, for values. He has made Western after Western, so many he has nearly stopped counting. Some of them were hits. Some of them were forgettable. But never, not once, had he thought of those films as something children might use to learn about honor, courage, or what it means to be an American. To him, they were movies, work, stories, entertainment. Yet here was a teacher in rural Montana treating them like lessons. He keeps reading. Margaret explains that the school has no film projector. They cannot actually watch his movies in class. Instead, she reads the scripts aloud while the children take turns acting out the scenes. It is not the same as seeing them on screen, she admits, but it helps the children understand bravery, fairness, sacrifice, and perseverance.
Roger, that's real hair. Not mine, but real hair.
She writes that these ideas matter deeply, especially for children growing up in isolated places that much of the country seems to forget. Wayne slowly sets down his coffee. Then he reaches the final page. At the bottom of the letter are 12 short messages, one from each student, written in uneven, childish handwriting. Some are shaky, some are barely legible. All of them are sincere. "Dear Mr. Wayne, you are the bravest cowboy. Love, Sarah, age 7. Mr. Wayne, my dad says you're a real American. I want to be like you. Billy, age 10. I watch your movies when they come to town. You never give up. Tommy, age 8. There are 12 of them in all. 12 children in a forgotten corner of Montana, learning about America by reading his scripts out loud inside a one-room schoolhouse. Wayne folds the pages carefully and places them in his desk drawer. But he does not move on with his day. He sits there, quiet, thinking.
Oh, I'd have to think very hard. There's one thing I think he wouldn't mind if I told you.
It is March 15th, 1961. He is 53 years old and has already built an enormous career. He has made around 60 westerns, maybe more. Enough that the titles blur together. Some were powerful, some were routine. But never had he imagined that somewhere out there, a group of children was building its sense of country, character, and purpose around stories he helped bring to life. That thought stays with him. A few minutes later, he picks up the phone and calls his business manager. "How much would a good film projector cost?" he asks. There is a pause on the other end. For what? For a school. The manager thinks it over. A good 16-millimeter projector, maybe $300. Then get the best one, Wayne says, and send prints of 10 of my films. The good ones, the ones worth teaching from: Stagecoach, Red River, She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, Fort Apache, Rio Grande, the ones that mean something. The manager is quiet for a moment. What's this for, Duke? A school in Montana. Did they ask for all that? No, Wayne says, but they need it. Then he writes a check for $500, making it out simply to the school, to Margaret's class. No publicity, no announcement, no press release, just help sent quietly. And after that, John Wayne sits down at his desk, pulls out a sheet of paper, and begins to write them a letter of his own.
I'm having a hard enough time imitating the people that are imitating me.
I'm honored that you study my films, John Wayne writes. More honored than you know. He pauses for a moment, choosing his next words carefully. This is not a speech, not a performance, just something honest. You asked for advice about teaching values, he continues. Here's what I believe. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right even when you're scared. Honor is keeping your word even when nobody's watching. And being American means believing that everyone matters, even people in small towns far from anywhere. The words come steadily now, simple but firm. I'm sending you a projector and some films. Not because you asked, but because students like you deserve to see these stories on screen, not just read them. You're not just 12 kids in Montana, you're 12 Americans. And that's everything. Keep studying, keep learning, and most of all, keep believing in something bigger than yourselves. That's what makes this country work. He signs it the way millions know him. Your friend, Duke? He seals the envelope, sends it off with the projector and the films, and tells no one. No press, no announcement, no attempt to turn it into a story. Just a quiet act, finished and forgotten as he moves on to his next film. 6 months pass. Wayne finds himself back in Montana, this time working on the massive production of How the West Was Won. It is a huge project. Multiple directors, sweeping locations, and long days in rough, beautiful country.
One other question asked of Wayne was whether President Nixon planned to make a movie about himself. Wayne replied, he's a good enough actor.
The mountains stretch endlessly, the air is cold, and everything feels far removed from the world he usually moves in. One afternoon, filming is shut down due to weather. Rain rolls in, steady and unforgiving. The crew settles into waiting, cards, small talk, the usual ways to pass time. But Wayne grows restless. His mind drifts back to something he hasn't thought about in months. That school, those 12 kids. He turns to his assistant. That school in Montana, he says. The one with the 12 students, the one we sent the projector to. The assistant nods. Yeah. Where is it? About 80 miles from here. Wayne doesn't hesitate. Get me a car. Duke, it's your day off, the assistant replies. You should rest. Wayne shakes his head. I'm not resting. I'm going to see those kids. Within the hour, everything is arranged. No entourage, no publicity, no cameras. Just John Wayne alone in a rental car driving through Montana back roads. The trip takes nearly 2 hours. Dirt roads, open fields, long stretches of nothing but sky and land. The kind of place people pass through without stopping, but he keeps going. At around 2 in the afternoon, he finds it. A small, weathered schoolhouse standing quietly against the landscape. No sign, no crowd, just a single building holding 12 lives inside. He steps out of the car and walks to the door. From inside, he can hear voices. Children reciting lines together, their rhythm uneven but determined. He pauses for a second, listening, then knocks. The room goes silent. Inside, Margaret walks to the door and opens it, and freezes. The book in her hand slips and hits the floor. Standing there, filling the doorway, is John Wayne. "Mr. Wayne," she manages, her voice barely steady. He gives a small, respectful nod. "Hope I'm not interrupting." Behind her, 12 students sit completely still. Some stare wide-eyed. A few lean forward like they're not sure what they're seeing is real. One little girl begins to cry, not out of fear, but pure overwhelm, the kind that comes when something impossible suddenly stands right in front of you. Wayne steps inside. The room is even smaller than he imagined. One large space with 12 desks, a wood stove in the corner, a chalkboard worn from years of use, an American flag hanging on the wall, and at the back of the room, exactly where it should be, sits the projector. Beside it, stacked carefully, are the film canisters he sent months ago. He walks over and rests his hand lightly on the machine. "You got everything I sent?" Margaret nods, still struggling to find her voice. "We use it every Friday," she finally says. "The children look forward to it all week." Wayne smiles slightly, then turns to face the students. 12 pairs of eyes lock onto him, some nervous, some thrilled, all completely amazed. "I got your letter," he says, "all of you, and I read every single message. Thank you for that. It meant more than you might think." A small voice rises from the front row. "You read mine?" Wayne looks down and spots her, a young girl with blonde braids, maybe 7 years old. Sarah. He nods gently. "I did." She leans forward just a little. "I said you're the bravest cowboy." Wayne's expression softens. "Yeah," he says quietly. "I remember."
And I saw Duke's eyes glaze over, and I thought, great, I can dump him and run. So I got the maitre d' and I said, "I'm leaving him here with you."
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever called me. Sarah's face instantly turns bright red. She looks down for a second, then back up, smiling in a way she'll remember for the rest of her life. What follows is something none of those children or their teacher could have imagined. John Wayne stays, not for a few minutes, not for a quick visit. He spends the next 3 hours with them. He answers every question they have, no matter how small or how simple. He signs scraps of notebook paper because that's all they have to offer. He tells stories from movie sets, long days, missed shots, things going wrong and somehow turning right. He shows them how movie fights work, how to throw a punch that looks real without hurting anyone, how to fall safely, how to make something look dangerous while staying in control. The room fills with laughter, curiosity, and something even deeper, connection. At one point, he asks them a question. "What have you learned from the films?" The answers come quickly, one after another. Courage, honor, standing up for what's right, not giving up, helping people weaker than you. Wayne doesn't interrupt. He doesn't correct. He just listens, really listens. And in that moment, something becomes clear to him. These children understand. They didn't just watch stories, or in their case, read them out loud. They absorbed them. The values he tried to bring into his roles, sometimes without even realizing it, had reached them. Somehow, across distance and circumstance, those lessons had landed exactly where they were needed. As the afternoon begins to wind down, one boy slowly raises his hand. He's small, with dark hair and a serious expression that doesn't quite match his age. Tommy, 8 years old. "Mr. Wayne?" Wayne turns toward him. "Yes, son?" Tommy hesitates, then asks the question that changes everything. "Why did you help us?" He pauses. "We're nobody." The room goes completely still. Every child is watching, waiting. Even Margaret, standing quietly near the door with her hands clasped together, holds her breath. Wayne doesn't answer right away. Instead, he walks over to Tommy's desk and lowers himself down until he's eye level with the boy. "Listen to me," he says, his voice calm but firm. You're not nobody. Don't you ever say that. Tommy's eyes lift, unsure but listening. You're Americans, Wayne continues. All of you. And that means you matter. Every single one of you. The words hang in the air. It doesn't matter if you live in Hollywood or Montana or anywhere else. You matter just the same. Being American, that's everybody. Tommy's eyes begin to fill. He nods, but he doesn't trust himself to speak. Wayne stands up and looks across the room at all 12 of them. And when you grow up, he says, you help the next kids, the ones who think they're nobody. You show them they matter too. That's how this works. That's how America works. We lift each other up. He pauses. Understand? 12 voices answer together, strong and certain. Yes, sir. Before Wayne leaves, Margaret gathers the courage to ask one last thing. Would it be all right if we took a photograph so the children can remember this day? Wayne nods. Of course. They step outside into the open Montana air. The schoolhouse stands behind them, simple and weathered. The 12 students gather close, Margaret beside them, and John Wayne standing among them, not as a distant movie star, but as someone who showed up. One of the fathers has a camera. He takes a single photograph, just one. That's all they need. Wayne climbs back into his car and drives away, returning to the film set as if nothing unusual has happened. He doesn't tell the crew, doesn't mention it in interviews. To everyone else, it's just another day off. But on that long drive back, something stays with him. Tommy's words. We're nobody. He turns that over in his mind again and again. How many children across the country feel that way? How many people grow up believing that where they live determines what they're worth? For years, he thought his films were just entertainment, stories people watched and forgot. Now he understands something different. They matter. Not because of awards or box office numbers, but because somewhere in a small schoolhouse in Montana, 12 children built their understanding of courage, honor, and identity from those stories. And that means everything. Years pass. Tommy grows up in that same Montana town. He finishes school, goes to college, and then makes a decision that surprises no one who truly knows him. He becomes a teacher. He returns to Montana. A different town, different students, but the same feeling. Rural children, ranchers' kids, the kind of kids who sometimes believe the world forgets about them. Tommy teaches them what he once learned. Courage, honor, standing up for what's right. And sometimes he brings out an old projector. He shows them films, and he tells them a story about the day John Wayne drove 80 miles just to visit a classroom of 12 children. In 1999, at the age of 56, Tommy writes an article for a local newspaper. It's not big, not widely read, but it's honest. The headline reads, "The Day Duke Taught Me Everyone Matters." In it, he writes, "I was 8 years old when John Wayne knelt beside my desk and told me I wasn't nobody. I've spent the last 30 years teaching hundreds of students, and I tell every one of them what he told me. You're Americans, that's everybody. It doesn't matter where you live or who you are, you matter." The article runs once. Most people never see it, but the 12 students from that classroom do. They're grown now, scattered across the country, living different lives, different careers, different paths. Yet they all remember. They remember the day the projector arrived. They remember the films. They remember the letter. And most of all, they remember the day a man they had only known through stories showed up in person, just to remind them that they mattered. One of the students kept the photograph. Sarah, the little girl with blonde braids who once called John Wayne the bravest cowboy, held onto it for the rest of her life. What began as a simple memory became something far more meaningful over time. She had it carefully framed, placing it where it could always be seen. It wasn't just decoration. It was a reminder. For 60 years, that photograph stayed with her. She showed it to her children as they grew up, telling them the story of that unexpected afternoon. Later, she showed it to her grandchildren, her voice carrying the same quiet awe, as if part of her still couldn't believe it had really happened. In the image, 12 children stand in front of a small, weathered schoolhouse. Margaret is there, off to the left, steady and proud. John Wayne stands to the right, not in costume, not as a character, but as himself. A work shirt, jeans, cowboy boots, nothing staged, nothing exaggerated. His hand rests gently on Tommy's shoulder, and every single one of them is smiling. At the bottom of the photograph, written in ink that has slightly faded with time, are the words, "The day we learned we matter." March 1961. When Sarah passes away in 2021 at the age of 67, her daughter finds the photograph among her belongings. She understands immediately what it means, not just to her mother, but to something larger. So she makes a decision. She donates it to the Montana Historical Society, not to a museum dedicated to John Wayne, because this story was never only about him. It was about what he gave, what he taught, what those 12 children carried forward into their lives. The museum places the photograph on display alongside the letter Wayne wrote, Tommy's newspaper article, and recorded reflections from the surviving students who were there that day. Together, they tell a story that is quiet, personal, and deeply human. Beneath the display, a plaque reads, "John Wayne didn't just make movies. He helped shape how generations of Americans understood courage, honor, and purpose. This photograph captures the moment 12 children learned they mattered, not from a screen, but from a man who drove 80 miles to make sure they never forgot it." Years pass, but the story refuses to fade. Visitors begin stopping in front of the photograph at the Montana Historical Society, often longer than they expected. At first, it's just another exhibit, one among many. But something about it pulls people in. Maybe it's the simplicity. Maybe it's the expressions on the children's faces. Or maybe it's the quiet realization that this wasn't staged, wasn't planned, wasn't meant for history at all. It just happened. A father stands there one afternoon with his young son. They read the plaque together. The boy studies the photo, then asks, "Did he really drive all that way just to see them?" The father nods. "Yeah, just for them." The boy looks back at the image, thinking in a way children do, direct, unfiltered. "Then they must have been important." The father pauses. "Exactly," he says. Stories like that begin to ripple outward. Teachers bring students to see the exhibit, using it as a lesson that goes beyond textbooks. Not about history in the traditional sense, but about impact. How one decision, one act of kindness can echo across decades. Some visitors leave notes in the museum's guest book. "I needed this today. Reminds me why small things matter. My grandfather grew up like this. He would have loved this story." One entry stands out. It's written in careful handwriting, almost like Margaret's had been all those years ago. "I teach in a small rural school. Sometimes it feels like no one sees these kids. Thank you for reminding me that what we do matters." The staff begins to notice something else. People don't just look at the photograph. They stand a little straighter after reading it. They linger, they reflect, and when they walk away, they carry something with them. Not a fact, a feeling. Back in Montana, town's not so different from the one in the photograph. Teachers continue doing what Margaret once did, finding ways to teach values through stories, through effort, through belief in children who might otherwise be overlooked. And sometimes, when the timing feels right, they tell their students about a man who once drove 80 miles on a rainy day. Not for fame, not for recognition, but for 12 kids who thought they were nobody. Because the truth is, that story didn't end in 1961. It keeps happening. Every time someone chooses to show up, every time someone reminds another person that they matter. And maybe that's the part of this story that matters most. Not the fame, not the films, not even the photograph hanging quietly on a museum wall. It's the moment everything changed. The moment 12 children stopped seeing themselves as nobody. The moment one man chose to act, not because he had to, not because anyone was watching, but because something inside him said it mattered. John Wayne spent decades building a legacy on screen, larger than life, strong, unshakable. But in the end, it wasn't a scene from Stagecoach or Red River that defined him most clearly. It was a quiet afternoon in a one-room schoolhouse. No cameras, no audience, no script, just 12 kids. And a message they would carry for the rest of their lives. You matter. That message didn't stay in that room. It traveled through time, through Tommy's classroom, through Sarah's family, through every person who stood in front of that photograph at the Montana Historical Society. And now, it's reached you. Because somewhere out there, someone might still feel like they're too small, too far away, too unnoticed to matter. But this story proves something simple and powerful. That isn't true. It never was. And maybe the real legacy of that day isn't about John Wayne at all. Maybe it's about what happens next, what you do with it, who you choose to lift up, who you remind, who you take the time to see. Because sometimes, changing a life doesn't take a grand gesture. Sometimes it just takes showing up. If this story meant something to you, take a second to share your thoughts below. I'd really love to hear where you're watching from and what part stayed with you the most. And if you enjoy stories like this, real moments, real people, and the kind of history that doesn't always make headlines, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stick around. There's always another story waiting, and I'll see you in the next one.